Jason Talks About. And on this episode, Jason talks about the week in AEW, starting with AEW Dynamite on February 19th, 2025. I'm your host, Jason Medeiros. That music you heard at the top, Reality 508. Find them where you find music. And find us on just about everywhere on social media, at Jason Talks About in most places. And please hit that like and subscribe button if you have not already. And for all of you that have, I wicked appreciate you. Thank you very much. And let's get into it. So, AEW Dynamite, February 19th. They were in Phoenix, Arizona. They had a really hot crowd tonight. It was another one of those smallish arenas. I don't remember the specific name of the arena, but it was a smaller arena. Good hot crowd. I think that's been a good move for AEW. The energy's been better. The announcers were Rick Abani, Taz, and Excalibur, so that was noticeable. Shivani's usually there. He wasn't for this episode. MJF entrance opens up the show. I'm sure that's a very good move if you want to capture people. Right off the top, the announcers talk about how there's going to be fines and suspensions if MJF and Hangman touch each other during this whole thing, and they had security lined up around the ring. I think, they should have done the whole thing of hanging the match over the head, like you two won't have this match if you touch each other, more so than just saying fines and suspensions, because people beat up people all the time. Moxley suffocating people and making them drown in bleach or whatever, so, probably more than fines and suspensions. But anyway, that's just a little logic thing, and if any of you think I'm picking on AEW, I do it with WWE all the time, if you listen to my other podcasts. Okay, so they had the WCW type ramp that I like, where it's connects, it's elevated and connects straight to the ring. I like the different looks in the different arenas, so that's kind of cool. There was big time cowboy shit chants for Hangman when he came out. I'm just gonna cover the main points of this thing like I usually do. MJF told the crowd, I don't speak poor when they were cheering at him. They go over a lot of little history here. MJF talks about how in 2019 in the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal, you screwed me over, and what a tear he's been on for all these years, and if you have a favorite wrestler, MJF's probably beat him. He said, that he was the first ever diamond ring holder. He main evented Wembley. He's the longest champion. So he's just going over all of his accolades, basically saying that, how much better he is than Hangman. And Hangman says, hey, I know who you are. You're a 27-year-old. You're making history. All that, but you're still not happy because there's something you cannot win from them. And he's talking about the crowd. And MJF kind of cracked and yelled, and I don't give a damn about them. So they're doing this thing again where MJF secretly does want the admiration from the fans, and it pisses him off that he doesn't. And he says, they decided that you're the main character. And he talks about Hangman saying, you, the guy who drank the blood and attacked veterans and used syringes and burned people's houses down. And the funny part is the crowd cheered all of it when he said it. And he said that. And he said, oh, yeah, Aaron, you all cheered for it. And they did more cowboy shit chants. And but he says, they love you, but do you love you? You ended Daniel's career, that jobber hack, talking about Christopher Daniels. And that's when Hangman says, don't you dare. He went out fighting. He was the best of us. And there was big fallen angel chants. And he says, he calls MJF a selfish coward, and you'll never be him. And he went out a warrior's death. And there's a lot of admiration for a guy who basically was trying to cripple Christopher Daniels in that match. I guess you could kind of headcanon that they've kind of reconciled, and they've showed some little moments of that if you paid attention. So, maybe I'll give him that. And then MJF says, you know what? I earned everything. You were the chosen one. All I had was a scarf and a mic. And he says, so go ahead and be the main character. I'll be the bad guy. And they went back and forth a little bit more. Security ended up getting in between them because it looked like they were going to come to blows. And then MJF took that opportunity to spit in Hangman's face. The security's still trying to hold him back. Hangman broke free, went to go get his hands on MJF, but Christopher Daniels was out there, stopped him, kind of talked him down, and there was big Fallen Angel chants. We had a Grand Slam recap. Then we had the Patriarchy versus the Ops. The Ops music I don't really like. I just wish they'd come out to Samoa Joe chants. I'm sorry, Samoa Joe's music, because what I was going to say is they're getting the big Joe chants anyway, and it just goes better with Samoa Joe's music, I think. Hook choked out Nick Wayne in this match. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I like Samoa Joe, but the rest of it feels so cold. MJF and Hangman were made official for Revolution, the announcer said. They did an ROH Global Wars recap where Jericho was pinned by Bandito in a trios match. And Renee was talking to Jericho, and he said, the fact is, if there was no Jericho, there would be no AEW, and this Saturday on Collision, there's going to be an ROH title match between him and Bandito. Hobbs and Bill, Big Bill had a street fight. The crowd was kind of into this. There was meat chants. I wasn't really into it. I thought it was just a lot of sloppy spots, and I just think both of these guys are super talented, big, awesome-looking people. I wouldn't have put them against each other already. I would have them in normal matches, being monsters, getting pins and getting wins. Anyway, Hobbs won this up on the stage. It was kind of awkward. I think it was supposed to be him choke slamming or sidewalk slamming off of the stairs, Big Bill, but Hobbs wasn't going to go with him. So they had the stairs up on the stage, and it just looked like he kind of pushed Bill over, and then Bill went through a couple of the tables with barbed wire on them, and the ref counted Big Bill out, counted to 10, and he lost. So it was what it was. I just don't like these matches. And I just think these guys, they need better. They need better booking. They need a lot of wins. And I wouldn't have put them... This should have been a pay-per-view match. A regular, normal match between these two after they've had, a few months of wins each. Renee's in the back with the Murder Machine, and they're going to go to Collision to call out the Hurt Syndicate. Okay. Double or Nothing is going to be in Phoenix on May 25th, and that got a huge pop from the crowd and lots of AEW chants. Toni Storm did an in-ring promo. She came out. She's super over. All right, folks, I'm quoting here, okay? None of this is my words. She said how she is the whore that you all adore, and the slut you can't rebut, and the tramp that's the new champ. And she said that Mariah May is one sick bitch. And she beat her with a small package, but she also railed her with the biggest package there was, or something like that. And she did a cheap plug for the Queen of the Ring movie, which she actually did say was a cheap plug, which Toni Storm is in. She mentioned how she's looking forward to beating all the other women, including Statlander, Willow Nightingale, and yes, even that damn Wendy Richter. So she said if any of those females want to go tit to tit or lip to lip with her, she's ready. And then it was big Tony chants. So that was all quotes, folks. Renee was in the back with Willow, and this is one of the parts I don't like, where we have to acknowledge that Renee and Jon Moxley are married and bring it up all the time. So I think Willow did what a realistic person would do. Renee goes to the interviewer and go, so, hey, Willow, what's going on with you? And she says, well, your husband's group attacked me last week. So I thought that was pretty funny. And then out of the blue, I'm guessing she was standing 3 feet away from her off camera. Marina Shafir attacks Willow Nightingale, beats the crap out of her. Mox grabs the cameraman and leads him all the way toward the ring and does an in-ring promo about Cope and how he wants to kill Cope. And Jay White interrupts. And Moxley threatens him, and then Cope's music hits, and there was a big sing-along because Cope ended up attacking Moxley from behind. The Faces took over. The Death Riders ran in, but the Faces ended up taking over, and Cope grabs the mic and he says he's gonna take out the Death Riders one by one. He's up in the crowd. I'm sorry. He chased the Death Riders out into the crowd, and as he was coming back down, said how he's going to take out the Death Riders one by one. And I laughed at some guy that was clearly coming back to his seat after getting food and ran into Copeland just standing there and was kind of like, hey, man, you know. Renee is in the back talking to Mercedes, and she's 14-0 in AEW, and she's going to fight Momo Watanabe, if I'm saying that right. It's just another one of those AEW things that they do where I guarantee you 99% of the people that don't watch whatever the Japanese woman wrestling is, they don't know who she is. And why would we care about this match? Unless we got to know her and she came over here to America and got some wins first or whatever. But anyway, that's what they're doing with the Mercedes Moné. Statlander and Bane. Chris Statlander and Megan Bane had a match, and I was looking forward to this. These are two women, and by the time I get to the end of this, people are probably going to laugh at this statement, but these are two women. Like, this is a match where I would say, if someone criticizes AEW women, I'd say, hey, take a look at this match. We've got two big, beautiful women. They look like athletes. They've got size. They can both work. And I noticed Megan Bane's even bigger than Statlander, and Statlander's a pretty big woman. Pretty tall-wise, I should say. The crowd was really into this, and I thought they were having a pretty good match. And there was at one point Megan Bane did like a deadlift German suplex to Statlander, who, again, neither one of these are small women. There was a cool another German where she did from the bottom rope. So standing on the bottom rope and grab Stat off the apron. This match ended up with a little interference when Penelope Ford ran down and pushed Stat off the top rope while the ref was distracted by Megan Bane. Bane won with the F5. I think they call it something else. Obviously, they're not going to call it the F5, but it's Brock Lesnar's move. And then Penelope Ford jumps in, and they're both attacking Statlander. And then Thunder Rosa comes down with a chair, and I'm sure everybody has seen this by now, if you're into AEW or wrestling in general. What a train wreck this was. Thunder Rosa runs down with the chair. The two heels are standing there. She looks like she's going to swing the chair. Penelope Ford stands in front of Megan Bane, not the other way around where the monster should stand in front of the smaller girl. Nobody flinches, nobody moves. They're kind of laughing at Thunder Rosa, making her look like shit. Statlander's still selling on the ground. Then Penelope Ford just starts grabbing at the chair. Well, let me back up. Thunder Rosa probably thinking, all right, well, these women ain't moving, so I'm going to swing the chair at them, and swings and kind of pulls it back because they don't move. I don't know if people went into business for themselves. I've read rumors that it was like the producers mixed something up, but it looked like absolute shit, and it made Thunder Rosa look like absolute garbage and like a fool as a babyface. And that is no disrespect to Thunder Rosa. I think Thunder Rosa is one of the best women they have. But I don't know what's going on. But God, did that look second rate and awful. And like I said, you just had a match with two sexy, athletic, tall women that, you would think would get eyeballs on the product and say, wow, and look at this. They do have some good women wrestling here. The woman, they can wrestle. I'm not just saying they're good looking. These two women can wrestle. And they're big, and they look like WWE products, and you ended it with this garbage, with this pile of trash, whatever the hell this was, this segment. Taz was just like, oh, this is wild. And getting back to it, Penelope Ford just like grabs the chair and gets into an awkward tug of war with Thunder Rosa. It was like the heels were like, we're not scared of you. Not only are we not going to move for that chair, we're going to just take it out of your hands. So it was awful. And I want to say, like, back in the day, Thunder Rosa, like a babyface, probably would have just started swinging the chair. And if you didn't duck, then, oh, well. I know that it's not the old days anymore, but that's probably how that would have been handled. Okay, Renee's in the back with Max Caster. He's 0-2 on his open challenges. I wasn't really going to be listening to any more of that. That is such a lame thing they're doing with Max. To think this guy was like the coolest guy in the company like a year or two ago. Ricochet did an in-ring promo, came out. He still got the embassy robe that he took from Nana and Swerve. I thought it was a nice touch that Riccaboni was an announcer because he actually gave a little context how there's decades of history with that robe and different people that have had it. And Riccaboni being a longtime Ring of Honor announcer, I thought that was good. I said I thought that Ricochet did way too long looking into the camera, whatever this promo was. Nana interrupts, and he was actually kind of serious. He said he asked Swerve to stay home, and he says, you're wearing something that doesn't belong to you. It's been 2 decades of me making history with people. There's people that are no longer with us that wore that robe. The robe wearer is supposed to be someone who has honor. It goes on and on. I liked serious Nana here. He actually got to talk for a while. And Ricochet basically tells him, like, why don't you take it? And then he says, what, are you going to cry? So obviously Prince Nana's not going to take it because he can't fight Ricochet. He's like a 60-something-year-old man. And he just says, you know what, you're not getting it back. And he does his laugh, his ha-ha, and he walks away, and that was that. So kind of left Nana dejected, and, I guess got some heat because the sympathetic, babyface manager is in the ring sad. And okay, so the main event, and I put this in question mark because I don't know, I just can't believe this was the main event, was Roderick Strong versus Orange Cassidy. The winner gets Takeshita. I really would have liked to see, if you have to do this, Roderick Strong and Takeshita. I thought it would be probably a great match. But anyway, JR was on commentary, so that was nice. I always like hearing good old JR. Look, this was a good technical match. I'm not the biggest Orange Cassidy fan, but I'm not going to say he can't work. He can. He has decent matches. I just question if he should be a main event guy. And Roderick Strong took the pin here after the orange punch, which missed, by the way, big time. It did not look good. They should have called an audible and done something else, because I can understand maybe you botch a move a little bit and it doesn't connect quite right, but when you totally whiff and the guy just takes the bump anyway, that looks bad. Anyway, orange punch, Orange Cassidy wins. Shivani goes in the ring. So he was there, by the way. I said he wasn't there. He just wasn't on commentary in the beginning of the show. He says that y'all gonna fight Takeshita next week, Orange Cassidy, and before Orange Cassidy can really say anything, Callis, Takeshita, and Davis, say that 5 times fast, interrupt. They attack him, and then Kenny Omega comes out, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, Battle Cry played again. Can we just keep that music and throw that other tape in the trash? So Kenny comes out. The heels have the numbers, but the faces fight back. We went off the air with a V trigger and an orange punch to the heels, and Kenny standing tall with Orange Cassidy. So that was Dynamite. Not a great episode. I thought we should have had some better offerings in the ring. I thought what would have been a really good women's moment if they just had a normal ending to the match turned into that's all people are talking about now, is just how awful that ending was. Yeah, so that's it. I mean, not a lot to write home about. Okay episode, I guess. There was some bad stuff. There was some okay stuff. Nothing great. Let's take a look at Collision. I noticed that JR was on commentary for this whole episode. That was kind of nice to see, because we know JR's had his health issues, and that's why he sometimes only does the main events on certain shows. He was on the call with Tony Schiavone and Excalibur. They talk about how Toni Storm's gonna come out, and she's in the back, and they show her walking towards the ring, and Mariah May attacks her and beats the living crap out of her and drags her to the entrance ramp and gives her the Storm Zero on the ramp. And the spotlight, Mariah May asks for the spotlight, and it's shining on both of them, and she says, look what you made me do. I'm gonna write the ending to the story in your blood. And she wants a rematch at Revolution. So she was basically just holding Toni Storm like a child while Toni Storm was unconscious. They did a whole Okada and Buddy recap from the Australia show. I was not going to watch the next match. It was Hologram defeating the Beast Mordos, and Mordos attacked Hologram and Commander saved him. I just don't get the Hologram character. It's just such a generic, weird character, reeks of bad WWE 80s Saturday morning gimmick or something. I don't know. It's just bad, in my opinion. Lexi was with Harley Cameron doing an in-ring interview. I'm not going to say what she said verbatim. She just kind of talked about her future and moving forward after losing in Australia. She's really funny and she's really over. And good for her, because this is one of those few organic things that AEW has, and hopefully they don't botch it. I'm not saying we should have Harley Cameron as women's champion, but, I give the fans, if they want Harley, give them Harley and, do something with her. Gabe Kidd made his AEW debut fighting the Butcher, and Callis was watching a monitor in the back, so perhaps he wants to recruit Gabe Kidd. One comment I will have is that it was two guys fighting that were both big and bald and had black tights, so I would probably try to offset the look, of especially Gabe Kidd's first match. You probably want him to stand out a little bit better. He won with a pile driver, so just a simple pile driver is his finishing move, and so yeah, Gabe Kidd is, I don't think he's all elite, so to speak, but he's showing up in AEW, so he's probably going to do some stuff with them. Lexi is in the back with Callis and Fletcher accepted the challenge from Ospreay to fight in the cage at Revolution. This next match, Julia Hart defeated Queen Aminata by submission. I'm sorry, I know Julia Hart's over with the song and all this, and Queen Aminata is just one of these I can't figure out. Again, tall, beautiful, good worker, athletic looking, in great shape. She looks like she has like an 8-pack. I mean, unique look, unique accent. There's something there. I think I've watched her win one match ever in AEW, and she should, it's just an odd visual. Like, Julia Hart looks like a little girl next to her, and she's defeating her by submission. It's not, no offense against Julia Hart. I just talked about organically getting over. She did that, and good for her. And her song's really over and whatever. I just would love to see some of these people get more wins, like Queen Aminata. Anyway, that's my rant. The Murder Machines were up next. They carry their job opponents into the ring, throw them in the ring, squash them, win, get on the mic. They want the Hurt Syndicate. So the Hurt Syndicate made their entrance, when they heard their names mentioned, and big Hurt People chants by the crowd, the most over people in the company maybe, the three heels. Security and refs were between them on the ramp, which was a good move because, the Hurt Syndicate shouldn't be backing down, neither should the other two monsters. MVP says, you know what? You beat these guys here, well, maybe next week if you beat a real team, you can get a title match. So I think it's going to be like on Dynamite, they have to beat a real team, quote unquote, to get a match. Then we had the Trios Championship, Garcia and Magic and Angelo Parker. Garcia, by the way, is the TNT champion, in case you forgot, because he's always in six-mans now, versus the Trios champions, the Death Riders. Pac ended up submitting Angelo Parker. I'm sorry, I just have to make, a comment here. Some of the people in this match do not look like they belong on TV. The least you can do is be in shape. Do the bare minimum. Just look like an athlete, that's it. It's not body shaming. It's a cosmetic sport. Cody Rhodes said this. Not that he's the end all be all, but I'm just saying, look like an athlete at least if you're going to go out there and we're supposed to believe that you're fighting each other, okay? The Death Riders attacked everybody after the match, and then the Undisputed Kingdom came out, made the save. The faces had the numbers. Moxley now starts coming through the crowd. So Moxley's making an appearance on Collision again. And then Cope's music hit. And Pac just happened to be laid out in the ring from all the commotion. And Copeland ended up getting 2 chairs and gave Pac the concerto. And the crowd said, one more time. And he did it twice. So they just wrote Pac off. So Cope is making good on his promise of taking people out in the Death Riders every week. So he's taking them out one by one. Max Caster had his open challenge thing. Brody King came out and absolutely squashed him. And it's a shame because I'm looking at Caster during this match and I'm saying he's big, he's good size, he's muscular. He's not Ric Flair, but he's a decent wrestler. And I don't get this. They probably could still have done something with the Acclaimed, and I don't know, maybe they don't like each other in real life. I don't know what the backstory is, but whatever. So he gets squashed. Brody wins. I mean, I'm glad to see Brody King. I'm a Brody King fan. Gets the win. Lexi is in the back with the Outrunners, and the Hurt Syndicate happens to walk by in the middle of their interview. And the Outrunners say, hey, you said if Murder Machine beats a real team next week, they get a shot. Well, we want a shot, so what if we fight them if we win? And MVP says, okay. The good news is, if you win, you get a tag team title shot. The bad news is, you'll get a tag team title shot. In other words, you get to fight these two guys. So, I'm looking forward to that. The Outrunners, again, are one of those organically over teams. They're pretty funny and entertaining, and, they're in good shape. They can work. So, looking forward to seeing how that plays out. And then the main event was the ROH Championship. Jericho ended up defeating Bandito with a roll-up. The crowd was hot for this. It was a decent match. I think it was one of the better Jericho matches in a long time. Having said that, it wasn't like this great, tremendous match, but I think it was the best Jericho match in a while. He seemed to be a little more pumped up for this one. And, so Jericho keeps his title, and so the Ring of Honor title was in the main event of Collision. And so that was that. This show overall, again, nothing to write home about. It might have been a little better than Dynamite. I think that's been the case with some Collisions as of late. So my opinion on AEW as a whole, I don't really think they're doing well. I don't really feel like... I thought the Australia show was great. It was a good moment for them, even though it was on late and all this stuff and all the drama about, it was supposed to be a pay-per-view, and then it wasn't, and then it was on after the NBA, blah, blah, blah. But I thought watching the show was a good show, and it had really good energy. I thought that was the bright spot in the last month for them. I thought this week these two shows kind of brought them a little more back down to earth. And I just don't think the momentum is there going into that Revolution pay-per-view. I think they really got to deliver a good week next week. I think it's only going to be Dynamite. I don't remember if Revolution's on a Saturday or Sunday, because I only say that because usually if the pay-per-views are on a Saturday, there's no Collision. So I apologize, but I don't know off the top of my head. My point is, whatever they do next week, it's got to be stronger than this leading into the pay-per-view. That's just my opinion. So I just say AEW, I guess, an okay week, and that's probably being generous. They're hurting right now from momentum, and like I said, I just don't feel super hot going into the pay-per-view. But it is what it is. Wrestling is live every week. It's a lot of hours of TV. Both companies do it, and they're not all going to be home runs. I've said this about WWE for a few months now. If you're going to have, in their case, 5.5, 6 hours of wrestling, and you can keep me entertained through at least most of that, you've probably done your job. Same thing with AEW. That's how I measure it, and I look at it and I say, Dynamite and Collision, I probably liked about half of the show of both of them if you're lucky. So 50% isn't a good average. I think you got to keep your audience held more than that. Probably, I would say at least 75% of it where you can say, yeah, that was pretty good. So anyway, that's just me. The show is called Jason Talks About Stuff I Talk About. It's what my thoughts are. That's my thoughts. Again, can't be overstated. I'm not rooting for AEW to fail. I don't want that. I want WWE to have competition. So my criticisms come from a place of wanting to see another company do well and continue. So, again, I don't do the tribalism. I'm just giving my opinions. All right. But anyway, if you made it this far, thank you again, everybody. I'm a small, growing podcast here, and I appreciate every single listen, share, anything. Please just spread the word. Please subscribe. Please like and all that stuff. And for all of you that are with me, I really appreciate you guys, and I thank you. And stay tuned because there's going to be more coming. All right? Take care.